Again then guys, and welcome to episode 9 of Days Gone By, the review series for Gran Turismo's selection of classic and vintage cars. And in this particular pick, we are featuring one of the more popular classics that are on the game, a car which I personally have never really liked all that much, but I'm not a huge fan of BMW in general anyway. As far as classics go though, this is a highly sought after example. Not very many were made, and they were and still are very expensive. And the car is the BMW 507. Now this car has a naturally aspirated 3.2 litre engine, and it's not quite as powerful as you might expect. The fact that we cannot turbo or supercharge it does kind of hinder this car's ability. If it were allowed to have more power, this could well be one of the quickest classics in the game. But the fact that it's not allowed to have that kind of power means that it's quick, but not necessarily quick enough to worry the big names like the Miura, the Cobras, etc. Now it puts out just under 400 horsepower, which is not bad at all, but with a supercharger or a turbo, you could easily be putting out 500 with this car, if not more, maybe even 600. So it's kind of a shame that we're not allowed to see what this car's true capabilities are. It also puts out a strong amount of torque, 390 foot-pounds, which is also very impressive. Actually more impressive than the power, I would say, for this particular model. It's relatively lightweight at 1,039 kilos, so lighter than most race cars in the game, and it puts out 384 horsepower per tonne. Not all that high, but at the same time not surprising, given that it doesn't have a huge amount of power to work with. The PP is not overly high, it's 505, but then again I wouldn't really recommend racing it at that level. It's not a bad car, it's certainly quick, but it's not necessarily competitive enough against the kind of cars that you can have at the 500 pp level. I'd recommend it for say 450, 475, maybe even 500 for some, but for most people it's not really going to be worth using, really. The advantages that it does have don't really stack up that well against other cars that you can get at that pp level anyway. As far as the price, it's an 85 grand car, which I find to be surprisingly low given how valuable these are in real life. And as far as performance, it is a pretty strong car, which is also why I say that it's a shame that it doesn't have more power to really exploit that advantage. It really is a rocket in a straight line for its power. In fact, it's one of the quickest sub 400 horsepower cars in the game. The top speed isn't supercar rivaling, of course, but on the game it can exceed 200 miles per hour, it can even do over 210, and that is very impressive for its power. There are not many vehicles which are this kind of size, weight, and especially age that can do that kind of speed. There are some, but not all that many. As far as its handling, it's very good. The fact that it has a relatively wide, low stance really helps with its cornering, having a lower centre of gravity, and displacing its weight evenly so that you don't get as much body roll as if it were, for instance, a taller classic with a narrower frame. As far as the weight, as we already said, it's very low, so again, that helps to reduce body roll and to keep its nimbleness surprisingly good for a car which isn't all that small. It's not a large car, but it's definitely not small either. It's a decent sized sports car. It certainly makes an excellent rival to vehicles like the Toyota 2000 GT, the Mercedes Gullwing, and various others. It's a fantastic rival, in fact, for those cars, considering that not only is it a full premium model with a very nice interior, I might add, and with very strong performance for its spec, but it's also a lot cheaper than its two main rivals, or what are arguably its two main rivals, the Toyota and the aforementioned Mercedes. They're both significantly more expensive than this car. With draft, you can quite easily exceed 250 miles per hour with this car, so it does have excellent draft potential. Obviously you will sacrifice some low-end sluggishness though to be able to achieve that. And overall, even though I'm not a fan of the car, and never have been, I can definitely understand why people would like it. It's also a particularly loud car with the upgraded exhaust, a lot louder than you'd expect it to be. As far as overall ownership experience, or the overall ownership experience with the car, it's a good one. If you're a fan of classics, if you're a fan, of course, of BMWs, and if you want a good value classic, something that covers all the bases, it looks the part, it sounds the part, it's a full premium, has a good price and strong performance, then the 507 is actually quite hard to beat. It's a very good all-round classic and makes a fantastic collector's piece as well. As a performance car from a competition point of view, I would recommend taking a bit of care where you choose to use it. I would recommend using it more on tracks where you can really exploit its excellent straight line speed. The handling, though, is good enough for more curvy circuits rather than twisty technical ones. It's not necessarily nimble enough to take on smaller classics, but the handling, being a rear-wheel drive BMW, even of its age, they make great driver's cars, and you can really get it to flow through high-speed sweeping corners very well. So tracks like High Speed Ring, the Nürburgring Ring, Sierra, tracks like that which have quite high-speed corners, it's a very good car for. Other tracks such as, say, perhaps a city circuit, or very tight, twisty country tracks, I wouldn't recommend it so much for there. But overall, it's an excellent classic, and it's definitely worth checking out. And visually, it's actually the very clear main inspiration for BMW's newer sports car, the Z8, which for any fans of that, you can certainly see some very distinct similarities between the two cars. But that's it overall for this particular review. I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.